Hi, welcome to This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup. I'm editor MBTV. I have with me Prabhakar Sinha. He's the real estate editor of the Times of India. We also have Manish Patni. Now, Manish Patni wears various hats, and I'd like you to understand the depth of why we've brought him in. He's a home buyer. Like many of you, he's a home buyer who has been battling it out in the marketplace, trying to get his properties on time. But he's also a banker. So he understands the ins and outs of how the banking system works, and he's used it to his advantage by understanding and reading the fine print. And today, he's also a lawyer. He helps consumers like you to understand the fine print, to go behind the banks, the developers, but not to bring them down, but to find solutions. And once you understand that there are many clauses that can work in your favor, it's not just a question of getting an order, which is very difficult to get executed. It's also a question of finding a solution that helps you as a consumer. So let's get started. Prabhakar, you want to lay a opening ground?
Yeah, basically right now, the entire NCR, particularly or otherwise the entire country, is reeling under the problem of delayed delivery. Now, delayed delivery, particularly everybody is saying that, okay, developer has run away or developer is at fault, and the sufferer is mainly the buyer. Only buyer is suffering, and buyer is keep paying installments to the bankers also. I'm not questioning that. Installment must be paid to the bankers because that is ultimately depositors' money. But the issue is this: are the bankers not at fault when a project is getting delayed or stalled? And despite that, banker kept on releasing the fund to the developer of the buyer's money. And now they are saying it to the buyer that you pay money to me. Your installment must be coming. Now the issue is this, that RBI or other regulator must come here and fix responsibility to the banks also, that if a particularly to banks, because banks are entering into a tripartite agreement with developer and buyer to complete the project, and only after that project get completed, that flat is used as a mortgage to the banks. Now the issue is this, that flat is not completed, buyers are losing, they are paying rents and EMI and everything, and here the banks are keep getting the EMI and they are saying it that they are not responsible. Now that is not fair. Banks are responsible, and here the way has to be find out. Now if the banks intervenes and banks thinks that no, the project must be completed so their mortgage could be created and the buyers can also start living in the house, that is the solution everybody wants. But banks say that no, we are not responsible, we will not the party to this entire thing. You just keep on paying my money, and you keep suffering as you are suffering. So this is not fair, and I believe that Mr. Patni must throw some light on this, that what is the way out of this, and how the RBI should come out with a regulation or the NHB should come out with a regulations to fix responsibility to banks.
I like the point that he's made, that actually it is the banks. There is a lot of responsibility with the banks. Today, it's the consumer shouldering the entire burden of a delay by the developer, irrational lending by the lender, and also that the consumer has no way to escape this, because after all, it is depositors' money. But what Prabhakar ended with is what I want you to start with, Manish Patni. He said that it is for the RBI and the NHB to step in. Now, as I understand it from our conversation, the RBI and the NHB have stepped in many times to curb this kind of practices, right? Would you like to start from there?
Yeah, so let me put it in perspective. This problem is not new. And this problem was known to the regulators and the players in the market, including banks, very well, that this problem can happen where builders may not be able to complete the projects. And therefore, there are a lot of high court orders as well, which I'll not dwell on, but just for reference, which have basically stressed upon the need of due diligence time and again. Now, what is common to the home buyer and a bank is not new. So what is common between a bank and a home buyer is asset creation. For bank, a security in form of an asset, and for home buyer, a home as an asset. Now, if the interest of both the parties doesn't merge at a point, then I think there is a conflict of interest which comes up, and that is where the home buyers feel left out, where banks are doing nothing about actually ensuring completion of the project. Banks are responsible for doing a due diligence. It is public money that they are investing into real estate projects, and therefore, if me or Mr. Prabhakar or anybody has put in deposit in a bank, he has put in deposit in a bank on trust, and that trust has to be maintained. Now, if we have large defaults happening, projects not completing, that at some point of time that trust will be defeated. So
Now,
that is one
Mr.
social problem that the banks have to look at.
No, Mr. Patni, I want to ask you one thing: that can buyer take the recourse of not paying the installment? Should they do that? Should the law interpret like that? That if the bankers are not able to do the due diligence and the developers are not able to deliver that flat, and buyers are not getting the flat, bankers are not able to create the mortgage, so buyers should back out. Buyers said that no, fine, I will not pay you the EMI now.
So unfortunately, in practical terms, that doesn't work out that way in the present market scenario. But if you ask me legally, then if the banks are at fault and they have not done the due diligence and they have compromised the interest of the home buyer, home buyers definitely have a recourse under law to go and challenge the banks. Now, the court can give you two kinds of reliefs. One is the court, of course, the court cannot say don't pay to the bank, because principal at least has to be recovered, which is a depositor's money. So the court can give you an order which says that EMI not to be collected, or not to, the home buyers not to be forced or threatened for collection of EMI till completion of the project. That is one. Second is the banks can themselves move against the builder to recover the money, and courts have given orders where they have said the bank must go and recover the money from the builder because of lot of lapses on part of the banks.
Manish,
Let us not forget.
we covered that with you in a previous show.
Yeah.
Help us understand, did the banks actually manage to go to the developer and recover it?
So there are a lot of recovery certificates issued by DRT against builders
Yeah.
for recovery of home loans given to individuals by banks.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because in some matters, consumer courts have intervened and they've said that bank is equally responsible, and there is to certain extent dereliction of duty of the bank.
But
And
those orders never seem to get passed, executed, right?
Right now, what I'm talking about is the problem of the home buyer. Once there is such an order, the home buyer gets the relief of not paying, or maybe getting some hope of getting the project complete, because banks will be under pressure.
Okay.
However, the banks may have a problem in recovery of money from the builders. But let me also tell you, banks must realize today that if they don't act now and take constructive steps, they will face a big problem, and especially after Corona, where people have got their salaries reduced, have lost their jobs. How do they continue to pay the EMIs and the rentals, all of them together, with no hope of getting a home?
Yeah.
So a home buyer can probably say, okay, I know I'll get in 2 years, I'll continue paying. But then if he has no hope of getting a home, he will definitely evaluate between the risk of defaulting with the bank and saving his 1 crore rupees or 2 crore rupees or 50 lakh rupees.
But Manish, that can lead to other kind of problems. And
Yes.
Prabhakar has a friend who actually stopped paying and had even his salary getting attached by the authorities.
So just defaulting takes you nowhere.
That's right.
Just defaulting takes you nowhere.
The conversation is not about default. Today's conversation is about.
So we are talking about a resolution. So if I was to just default because the house has not been completed, the bank will start following you up. Your civil will get compromised. They will start banking your post-dated checks, which they have, involve you in 138 and all those cases. So that's not the way ahead.
That's it.
If home buyers really have a case, they must pressurize the banks through legal recourse or otherwise, or collecting as a group, to find a resolution. because ultimately the whole claim from the bank must also get diverted to the builders.
Okay, and now Manish, I'm going to give you
Just 1 minute, one more thing on this.
Yeah.
If you see the tripartite agreements of the banks very carefully, the tripartite agreements say that the builder promises to deliver the property strictly as per the builder buyer agreement, and if he fails to do so, he shall forthwith return the money with interest to the bank. Now, why are banks reluctant in enforcing that operative clause of the tripartite agreement which they have themselves drafted?
Okay, tell us why can't that be invoked, or has it been invoked anywhere?
Banks don't want to do that because banks say we will choose whom we want to chase.
Yes.
And home buyers are an easy target. They tell them आपका civil खराब हो जाएगा. Now home buyers, many of them, believe me, are not defaulting today because somebody has a daughter's marriage next year, they may want loan. Somebody's son is going overseas, right?
Yeah.
So those are problems. They don't want to compromise with the civil. But I think a time has now come where home buyers are thinking of evaluating between how important a civil score is to them in the given situation.
Right. Manish, if let's take the example of a group of home buyers, many of whom have they were fully bankable when they took their loans. They are coming to the end of their working life, and today the bank may not lend to them at the same terms that they would have lent, say, 10, 12 years ago. If the home buyers get together, do you think they have more strength?
I think they have more strength. So banks will have to listen to them. Home buyers will have to go with a multi-pronged approach. Maybe because one of the problems is even if a home buyer sends a notice to the bank today, the banks threaten him back with a 138 or Sarfasi, etc. So that's not the right approach.
Okay.
Now home buyers therefore need to engage with banks and also wherever necessary get intervention of the courts so that things are kept in control and there is some resolution that can come. Now, one resolution that I understand basically is where you don't need to go to a court is, for example, there are 100 flats in a particular project. 80 flats have been financed by a particular housing finance company, and that is how it all works. In every project, there is some major player. If they realize that out of 100 crores, our 80 crores is at stake, and if that can be saved and the goodwill with the home buyers can also be protected, and they enter the project as they would do in case they had given a construction finance, right? And take charge of the project, get it completed, and move on. There will be no problem. But banks will have to do that.
So there is two issues here, sir. Two issues. First
Just
of all,
one last line. Banks, if you see in many cases, high-profile cases, have formed consortiums and chased the defaulters. So why can't they form a consortium here and chase the builder?
But sir, here the problem is that DRT, they don't understand or they don't listen to the buyers. They just go by the bank's version. And whatever bank says, they pass order. They say that, okay, fine, recovery must be done and the buyer's property should be attached or the personal property should be attached if he is not able to pay the money. So that's all. Or auction the existing property. If it is not recovered from that, then the buyers have to pay from his own pocket. So that is the one aspect. Another aspect is that here the banks basically, they are not trying to get the money from the developers. They always go after the, and here the reason behind this is that the normal banks should not be allowed to go into the housing finance company. Only a specific housing finance company should go who understand how the developer works and what is the meaning of due diligence. Then I believe that those housing finance companies could act properly in getting the project completed. Now the problem is that bankers are not the party to that. Even in the NCLT, the bank lenders to the buyer is not the member of the COC. So the banks, I was talking to one housing finance company, they said कि बस हमारा तो कोई रोल ही नहीं है ना, रोल तो बैंक्स का है या जो बड़े इंस्टीट्यूशन का है या डेवलपर का है या आप लोग जाके बैठिएगा, हमारा पैसा लगा है लेकिन मैं नहीं बैठ सकता उसके अंदर क्योंकि मेरे को तो सीओसी में बुलाते हैं, मेंबर ही नहीं बनाएंगे। तो सवाल है कि सरकार को भी अपने एक्ट में थोड़ा सा चेंज करके और जो लेंडर को पावर ज्यादा देना चाहिए, साथ में रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी कि आपको प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट होने के बाद भी टाइमली प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट होगा और नहीं तो जितना दिन का डिले होगा उतना दिन का कम से कम इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट नहीं होगा. At least that's the part of the clause.
So in my opinion, a housing finance lender is an agent of the home buyer. If you ask me honestly, that's my understanding.
Just
And
to
if I
forget that.
approach it that way, then as an agent of the home buyer, because you are doing everything on the instructions of the home buyer, that is what you claim. You need to safeguard your own interest and the home buyer's interest. If you are not doing that, then but there is also one more very interesting thing which I must read out from one of the loan agreements, a clause that I think will open the eyes of the people here. The clause says, whatever it says, that we can change the dates of disbursements or whatever, but it goes on to say that we may receive some additional benefits from such builders in addition to the interest under the agreement pursuant to such arrangements. Now, what does this mean? Do the banks have an interest? This is a clause from a loan agreement I am reading, that we may derive some additional interest from the builder, and we may tweak the terms of disbursement. Now, this is all not complying to the provisions of the regulations in terms of due diligence, linking disbursements to the construction stages. Advanced disbursement facility is a no-no since 2013, and from 2009 to 2013 and till now, NHB and RBI have issued several reminders to banks saying, please discontinue these special schemes which you call 25, 25, 2080 subvention, etc. There is a very interesting thing about subvention also, which people don't understand, and they've fallen prey to it. So a housing finance company approves, or a bank approves, a project for subvention, and that subvention is up to possession, right?
Yeah.
Now, banks, when they are disbursing the loan to the builder, for example, there is a loan to be disbursed of 1 crore rupees. The disbursement is 1 crore, but the builder is getting only 80 lakhs because 20 lakh rupees is being deducted in advance as interest for the next 2 years or 3 years. So you are not even allowing full money to go to the builder to complete the project. Now, this is just nothing but financial jugglery, and that is where overvaluations happen.
But if this is financial jugglery, who is to bring this to the notice of whom? If an individual home buyer does not get a hearing, a group of home buyers, like home buyers have now started structuring themselves into groups. Help us understand, if a group of home buyers get together, what are the 3-4 things that they should read in the document, in the builder-buyer agreement?
So they must read about, they must first read the regulations, because no clause in the agreement can operate beyond the provisions of the regulations, right? So if there is due diligence required, the bank cannot say, we will not do the due diligence, that was not our responsibility.
Okay, so if due diligence was one of the pre-qualifiers, where does the consumer, what is the clause that the consumer should refer to, so that he knows that clearly due diligence has not been done? So where should the consumer go to find this clause?
So if you see the loan sanction letter of the banks, it says that this loan is subject to project approval or legal and technical approval, and that we may ask you for additional documents if required as per the legal opinion. That's the first step I'm telling you.
Right.
But now when a home buyer goes and asks the bank that give me a project approval or legal opinion, they say it is for our internal consumption.
Right.
It is for our purpose. Now, home buyers need to question how the purpose of due diligence can be different from a home buyer and a bank. The ultimate goal is to actually ensure that the project gets completed, and the due diligence is all related to that.
Yeah, Jasri, you know one thing, that many developers, when they get approval
letter and read the loan agreements. Now, loan agreements are so confusing. At some point, they will say that we will disburse the money on your instructions, and in the same page, on some other clause, they will say the bank reserves the right not to disburse the loan if utilization of funds has not been established. Now, how can these be two contradictory clauses in the same loan agreement?
Yeah. Now, if that is so, if these two contradictory clauses are there in the same loan dispersal, in the loan agreement, what's the next step?
So they need to start questioning the banks. A lot of people are scared of questioning the banks themselves. Because उनको ये लगता है that banks have a upper hand, banks are so mighty, we can't fight them. But like they have fought builders, mighty builders, they can fight the banks as well. It's about getting your facts in place.
So is it that you should be picking up these clauses and saying that you had to get this done, therefore give us an explanation on why this was not done?
Yeah, and link the clauses of the agreement and the way the thing has happened with the provisions of the regulations.
Okay.
So see, it's like this. If now if you have seen the builder buyer agreements have been set aside on various clauses, force majeure, etc., by the Supreme Court, because they say it is not legally tenable.
Yeah.
Right. And therefore, similarly, you need to start challenging the agreements. I'm not saying, see, again, I am not recommending that the whole world goes against the banks, because then there will be with other problems. But the banks have to be made to realize that they have accountability. They have grouped up.
Yeah.
They have, just coming back to Mr. Prabhakar's question about DRT. If I may share a particular case where the home buyer said, I am not paying, because you are not listening. For 2 years, that home buyer kept on writing to the bank and the builder. They wouldn't even agree for a meeting.
Yeah.
So finally, the bank said, if you default, we will do this. The home buyer said, to hell with it. I don't care. You default or do whatever. I can't pay you 2 crore rupees just for nothing.
Yeah.
You must act. Come by my side and let us fight the builder together.
Right.
They refused. Instead, they filed a case in DRT against that home buyer.
Yeah.
They did not even provide the paper book to the home buyer to tender his reply for 8 months. And realizing where they have gone wrong in DRT, and they understood that they would be exposed big time, they suddenly went against the builder outside the court, recovered the money from the court, and withdrew the case from DRT. So even that is possible.
Because the consumer could understand and keep pressing.
Yes, the consumer created enough records.
Right.
There was a lot of correspondence on record. So consumers have to become aware of their rights, rights and wrongs that have happened, question the banks. And I'm not saying every case is bad, but wherever there is a problem, the consumers have a right in the consumer courts or wherever to question the banks as well. They are, at the end of it, they are consumers.
So actually,
not just for builders, for banks as well.
So actually what Manish is saying, and this is for all those consumers who are logged in, please understand that if the bank has lent on your behalf much more than what has happened on the ground, like Prabhakar said, 40% on the ground, 70% or 90% of the money disbursed, clearly there is a mismatch. The first thing to do is, while you are pursuing it with the developer, you're going to RERA, you're asking for recourse, you should also be pursuing the same thing with the bankers, with your bankers, because the money was lent on your behalf. So read your builder-buyer agreement carefully. There are clauses in the agreement which say mandates that the bank should have lent only when a certain level of construction was reached, and that due diligence had to be done. If that has not been done, put it in writing. Write to the bank, force them. If they don't reply, send it in registered post and so on, so that you have proofs of that you have written to the bank. Send emails to the bank. Make sure that you are creating a body of documents that prove that you have tried to negotiate with the banks. Right, Manish?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the first thing. The second thing is, Manish, that you said that the NHB and the RBI have been cautioning banks several times, right? How can a consumer get to these documents?
You have RTIs in place. Use RTI. See, there are so many things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I tell a lot of home buyers, you can't sit in your drawing room, send a WhatsApp message and keep complaining about the system. The system is what it is for everybody.
Yeah.
It is all about who uses it more effectively.
Right.
So I have circulars. I have letters sent by NHB and including some government departments, saying that despite these reminders, we have informally come to know that the banks are not complying. Please do that. Now, my heart burns because I realize that the regulators are so helpless. You tell me, if that is what they realize and that is what was happening, why have they not taken an action of even suspending a license of a housing finance company if they found that evidence? And I've got those letters with me.
Mhm. Okay.
High court gives orders not followed. So one example I'll give you: there are two kinds of lending which happen on a project.
Yeah.
One is it is given to the builder,
Yeah.
and the second is it's given to home buyer. Right now, the builder, when he gets a loan from the bank for his project, that is construction finance, there is a provision and a high court order also in place which clearly says, it's not now, it's about 10-12 years back, it says that the bank is supposed to ensure that the fact about hypothecation of the project or funding of the project must be clearly displayed on all the brochures, advertisements, all material of the builder. Now, how many, Jayshree, you have seen? How many brochures have you seen which talk about project finance? Are we trying to say that none of the builders take project finance?
Okay. If the builder had taken project finance, or
Yeah.
if the bank had lent to the builder to finance the project for actual construction finance, and it has not been displayed, which is part of the regulation, what does that mean? What should the consumer do? How can you use it in your favor?
So my question here is, first, before coming to the consumer, to the banks who are lending to the consumer,
Yeah.
they are aware of these regulations.
Yes.
They should have, and they should now at least insist that if it is not published in the media, we will not give a single housing loan.
Okay.
No, here, Jasri, I want to tell you something. Now, look, in the case of Amrapali, if you remember, now the banks had given loan directly to Amrapali, and the loan were given also to the borrower.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the banks had defaulted, this developer had defaulted to the banks, banks had gone and took the possession of the entire property.
Exactly.
So here, the bank's loan basically to the developer has a superior position, superior status, and the loan to the buyer is the inferior to the loan directly given to the developer. And this is the position that NHB and RBI also they go with it. The issue is this: now if you go to a property to buy a property, now the developer will very categorically say that, boss, these banks have approved the loan for this property, so they have approved the project, and this they even write on their brochure that this property is approved by HDFC, ICICI, or Axis Bank, or such and such bank. But when buyers buy through like that, okay, find these banks, and particularly I have written in Times of India many times that even if you have cash down money to give, don't give entire money cash down. Take loan even of 10 lakh, 15 lakh, or 5 lakh of rupees from HDFC particularly, so that you should know that due diligence has been done of this property. Then only you buy it, because they have that entire bank of the status of that project. And despite that, if banks fail to do that, I believe that here government should intervene. As in RERA, they have said it categorically that what developers should do and what kind of buyer seller agreement should be. So similarly, the loan agreement
finance companies must be brought under a regulation like RERA or within RERA itself.
Yeah.
Because it's an integral part of housing activity.
Sir, NHB is there for that, but NHB is not doing that. NHB
They are not doing it. In fact, they just work as post offices.
Exactly.
You send them a reply, and what they will do is they will seek a reply from the housing finance company, and they will post your question with their reply and say, we are done, go to any court. I have such communication. I fought with NHB, I fought with RBI. But one interesting point, Mr. Prabhakar, which we must understand and the bankers also must realize: in any kind of a financing to a project, the overall exposure on an asset cannot go beyond 75 to 80%, and that is the stipulation by RBI as well. And that also goes as a lending prudence, right?
Yeah.
But just imagine now a builder taking a project finance from a bank and also taking from the home buyers, and now we say that the builder has siphoned off money. How can it happen? Because technically, if there is a negative lien, that property cannot be mortgaged to the new home buyer's account till that loan has been proportionately settled. Now all this money is paid in escrow accounts. As a construction finance activity, banks do have a control on monitoring their inward and outward flow of finances. So why this situation has happened?
And clearly,
That's a big question that people have to understand.
there's a
So in Amrapali also, I had a view. In fact, I spoke to a few people there, and I told them, if the court prima facie agrees that there was a collusion between the bank and the builder in terms of the construction finance and other things, which has come out clearly on that, why is it that the same principle does not apply to a home buyer, and why home buyers have not actually sought relief on that ground? Because collusion is collusion, right?
Yeah.
The same bank could have given individual housing loans to the home buyers.
सर हद तो तब हो गई जब नोएडा में लीज्ड आउट प्रॉपर्टी पे, जबकि लीज रेंटल भी पूरा नहीं पे किया है, उसको पहले बायर को बेचा परमिशन लेके, फिर उसको जो दूसरे बैंक को हाइपोथेकेट किया। मतलब एक ही प्रॉपर्टी को जो कि उसकी नहीं है, उसने दो जगह पे उसको हाइपोथेकेट कर रहा है और पैसे उठा रहा है, और सिस्टम अलाउ कर रहा है। मजे की चीज है, उसमें से कोई गलत नहीं है। अब देखिए, तो बैंक विल से दैट बस दिस इज अलाउड, सो आई एम सॉरी, डेवलपर विल से दिस इज अलाउड, सो आई एम डूइंग इट, and authority says it that this is the custom, so I'm allowing them, and the things are going on like this. So it has so much ballooned up that it is better for the developer to default or run away, because they will have more money than otherwise by constructing the entire thing. Had the government not interested in this
format, I will share a real example with you. I am helping an association of home buyers who are stuck in such a project where there was subvention and stuff like this. Interestingly, what has happened, and what I'm going to tell you is going to answer a lot of your queries. So the project starts in 2012 with subvention up to possession. At that time, Bank A had given a construction finance loan to the builder. So the housing finance company starts disbursing. There is a NOC which comes from the builder A, who at that point when time had given construction finance, and that loan is liquidated, right? Because
the bank had given them NOC.
हाँ, so NOC लेना है, वो ले लिया।
हाँ।
अभी दो चीजें इसमें बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग हुई। 2014 में या 15 में वो पोजीशन मिलना था। सेम बैंक, हाउसिंग फाइनेंस कंपनी, a leading housing finance company of India, has now given another subvention scheme in 2015 with a 24-month interest period. Now I have to ask one question, that housing finance company already has about 150 people who have borrowed, who are supposed to get possession in 2015 under the subvention scheme. You are now extending the subvention scheme, which means the possession is getting delayed. Yeah. Did you do something about the subvention scheme? Now those people are defaulting and you are chasing them, banking their checks, creating cases of 138, doing sarfazi or whatever threats you can. That is one. But in the intervening period, there is a Bank B from whom the builder takes about 150 crores as a construction finance. And imagine that bank which is giving construction finance, fully aware that the project was launched in 2012, has not sought the concurrence of the home buyers, right? And this bank which has given housing finance, this housing finance company, is not even aware, and the builder is informing the home buyers that so and so bank has given us a loan, and all assets including all buildings are now hypothecated to them. You will have to seek their permission before getting the sale deed registered. Now how can this kind of a thing happen? So banks have to be blamed. Banks are responsible.
No, so let's take this to its logical conclusion. What are you advising the consumers?
So what we have done in those matters, in that case, so I am dealing with three societies. So we have started writing to the banks, and we have told them that we are aware there are so many home buyers, and there is individual letters which are going. And we have highlighted all the flaws, everything. We have studied the whole agreement and every full stop, comma we have taken out, and we have sent notices to the banks and housing finance companies, and we have told them, look, this is what has happened. What we want is that you must come on board and take action for recovery or whatever against the builder and ensure the project is completed.
Right.
Else, we cannot continue to pay you EMIs perpetually with no hope of getting a home.
Right.
So that is one. Banks, as you know, they are reluctant, but they know where they are. So they are saying, we are talking to the builder, we are talking, but the interesting part is they don't want to come on board along with the home buyers.
Right.
They want to trouble the home buyers and also continue following up with the builder. That doesn't work. It's a tripartite agreement. You cannot, in a tripartite agreement, all three parties have to deal together. You can't have a back to a discussion at the back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. That is one.
So what?
In another case, interestingly, 90% cases were financed by a particular bank. So what we did is we asked the home buyers. In fact, I drafted the letters, and the home buyers sent letters to the banks. And now banks are calling me up and them that we are looking into it and we would want a resolution. So the banks also realize, but the sooner they realize and the sooner they come forward with a positive mindset, right, the things will get sorted out. Otherwise, believe me, courts are going to be flooded with litigations.
Yeah.
There will be multiple litigations happening, and one more situation which will come up. So let's say home buyers start defaulting today because they can't pay the EMI, right? So bank also does not take any action. Now the project, say for some reason after 4 years, gets completed. At that time, home buyer will not get the home because possession is delivered. Bank will move in Sarfazi, take possession. Now bank will have a pressure of selling the asset. The buyer will say sell it and recover it. It's going to be a chaos.
Right.
But sir, one point I want to ask here: why don't you go one step up to NHB and the finance ministry, that telling about what the bank has done and what is the solution? Why not the bank should act like this?
I am trying that. I am trying to get some sense across to RBI, NHB, and I've also written to the ministry, to some officials in Ministry of Finance. But the problem is that everybody is under a fear that this is a situation where should they put their hands into it, because it has major repercussions. So I think the government has to take a lead. I am actually sending a representation to the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah, that's what I will
already written to. So all these letters that I am writing, right, we are sending right now, are going to NHB and RBI also.
Yeah.
So they are very well aware. They are very well aware. Believe me, in some cases, Secretary Banking has even forwarded our complaint to NHB. But you will be surprised, NHB has not reverted back. They just come back with the reply of the bank. Now, if the bank has to tell you about the agreement that you have signed, are the regulators blind to their own regulations? Can't they read as to their agreements?
The problem here, sir, that government owns the bank, and NHB basically regulates the banks owned by the government. So now they are in the problem.
There is another problem there, sir.
And
all regulators come from these banks.
Yeah, so they can't take action.
They have sometime work together.
And it has a huge pecuniary issue also, no?
Huh?
Huge pecuniary issue will be is involved in this.
Well, all that is there, but I mean,
okay, I'm going to.
I'm now requesting NHB for a joint hearing with home buyers along with the banks, and even summon the builder for that matter, because banks have a right on the builder also. Call him and let's have a resolution. Let's find a way out.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm going to actually request my producers, please tag NHB, the RBI, and the banking secretary on this show, because we would like this conversation to be noticed by them. And of course the Ministry of Housing, the Housing and
Urban. And one more interesting thing I must share with you. I had sent a 25 question set to NHB some time back on a RTI, and you will be surprised. I questioned the agreement of the banks, and I asked them, is this allowed? Is this allowed? Is this allowed? Everywhere they are quoted, please refer to our circular number so and so, servo so and so. We have not given any such instructions. Now they are not saying it is wrong. They are saying we have not given any such instructions. What does it mean? I mean, regulators have to have some backbone.
Yeah.
They need to really stand up.
Clearly, right now we are in this situation because the regulators did not use that backbone. And I'm going to go back to the questions that have come, and there are a lot of questions that have come. And Manish, I'd like you to address them. There is one saying: can the bank provide moratorium to customers where their projects are stuck? Now, here I want to put an annotation here. There are three types of consumers: consumers who've borrowed and whose projects have come up to, say, 90-95%, 70 to 90% completion status, where the finishing jobs are left and the project is held up. The developer may not have exited the project. It's just that the project has run out of cash and it's not happening. That's one set of consumers whose developer is still very much invested in the project, though there are inordinate delays. There's another set of consumers who have taken money from the banks, who have gone in for subvention schemes, but nothing has happened on the ground. There is just nothing. It may have been either just the ground is dug, or in many cases the ground is also not dug. But the consumer has paid 70 to 90% of the money, and it has been disbursed on behalf of the consumer to the developer. Now, what's happening is that and they have also taken project finance. The lenders have gone to the NCLT. Now, in NCLT, all projects of the consumer, of the developer, are considered in one bucket, right? And it has to be sorted out. The person who's last in queue, the one whose project ground has not even been dug up, but the land itself is there, and the land is actually it makes it a cash flow positive project. These two consumers should fight the same battle or different battles?
So I have a suggestion for the banks, and in fact, I am trying to work on those things, and I'll be happy if banks want to join hands with us and sort out some of these problems we are trying to handle. So where the project is 90% completed, I think banks and home buyers need to sit together with the builder. There may be some genuine problems and try to work out a problem. One thing that one has to look at is that not all projects are 100% sold. There are inventories available.
Right.
Now, can the banks take a stake on those inventories, provide fund to complete it, and recover their money as a project finance by sale of those left out inventories? That is one solution that the banks can look at. Right. That is one. Second thing is they can help out the builder in some other way, which is possible. And the third thing is clearly whether 90% completed or 20% or 30%, unless a home buyer gets a home, all that is useless.
Yeah.
So now here, if the first two options don't work out, bank can actually, and the home buyers can actually step into the project. I'll tell you why. The licenses for the projects are given for a certain period of time to be completed within 5 years or 6 years, 7 years. And licenses have to be renewed. And there are certain other provisions within each, like DTCP, Haryana would have certain provisions, and same state town planning acts would have provisions of re-entry into the project where they can cancel the license and get a new entity to complete the project. In such cases where the builder is grossly at default, where they have not paid the EDC, IDC, where they are not continuing with the project for the last 3-4 years, they've already passed the last date of the license, the licenses have not been renewed, etc., etc. The simple thing is there is some 10% of loan that may be outstanding with the banks also. They must step in, get somebody, a contractor or somebody to complete it, disburse the money to that contractor, all right, and be done with it. They can always take a re-entry into the project, get the license cancelled, and have the home buyers. I think UP RERA has given a very good decision on that. In fact, there is one project called Acme Raga and a couple of other projects in Gurgaon where the licenses of the builders have been cancelled.
Mm-hmm. And
so that gives a leverage. Now that is an easy way out, where home buyers and bank both corner the builder. I'm not saying because he's a builder you just mess around with him, but if there is a genuine problem, help them out. If not, if there is an intentional default, then you have this recourse. DTCP will have to oblige you. There will be one litigation.
So banks do not take any responsibility.
All that stuff, right?
Banks do not want to take any responsibility to
They
complete.
don't want to. They don't want to.
That is the problem.
So, Manish, the question I'm again posing to you is, how do you force the banks to come on the side of the home buyers so that
Home buyers have to get together.
completed?
Home buyers have to get together and tell the bank in clear terms, this is what is happening.
Right.
And they need to both agree. I'm not saying home buyers should be unreasonable.
Yeah.
But I think both sides have to be reasonable enough to be working together.
Right.
I would put it this way. Let's say a home buyer has been waiting for 3 years for the project to be completed. He has taken a hit of about 30% if you calculate 10% per annum as interest already. If the banks can look at, okay, out of a portfolio of 200 crores in this project, if we take a hit of 10-20 crores and save the rest of it, why not take it and get it completed? Because home buyers have anyway stood by them,
Right.
paying them EMIs. So is it not that the banks must reciprocate?
Right.
So you will have to, I'm not saying all projects will get sorted out, but a large number of projects can get rolling.
Right. I'm going to go to the next question. Why should consumers continue paying EMIs where developers fail to complete the project? And this is something that consumers, it's anger. It's anger because they have paid, right, for a long time without any hope. Now I want you to explain to consumers why they should pay or not pay. What should they do? How should they approach this?
This is a very common question which comes to me from everybody, because most of the people coming to me are not to fight builders, but they are coming to see how builders and banks can be brought together.
Yeah.
So here is my answer. As a consumer, one has to really evaluate how much is the exposure, and what is it worth in case they want to default or they want to pay. So somebody has got a 5 lakh rupee outstanding against a 1 crore asset, or somebody has got a 80 lakh rupee outstanding against a 1 crore asset. They may have a different perspective to it, right? That is one. Second thing, the home buyers have to understand that it is very fancy to talk about defaulting and bringing the banks to the knees. No, they will get into problem unless they get organized and take necessary steps to deal with the situation. Not just defaulting ke aaj EMI rok diya khatam kahani. Aisa nahi hoga. So people need to understand that if they want to default, then they need to have proper recourses in place. They need to have a defense in place, because it's about first movers. If the banks go and file a case in DRT or 138 or whatever, you are left defending.
Yeah.
So you need to work on it very clearly. So I come across so many people, they say, hum ek saal se EMI nahi de rahe. I said, what the hell have you done? Now, still, there is time to now start some action and take recourse.
Yeah.
The vulnerability of the bank is very interesting here. Banks know that they can threaten the home buyers with recovery. But the question is, can they really recover? The asset is still with the builder. The home buyer has got no authority to even hand over possession if they want to threaten the home buyer with Sarfazi. Sarfazi can kick in only where the property is ready and delivered, where possession can be taken over. So they have no option but to move an original application in DRT as a normal recovery route, which is not an easy thing to do. In that also, the possession will have to be taken from the builder. So they cannot escape the engagement of the builder in any which way, even if they fix the responsibility of the home buyer. So I have got so many judgments with me where the bank moved against the home buyer and the builder in DRT, and finally the home buyer moved in consumer court. Because they moved consumer court and there were some directions from the consumer court, the bank had to drop the home buyer from the list of opposite party and file a fresh application to get an order against the builder. So ultimately, that is the only recourse left. You tell me, how will you recover from the home buyer?
I believe that Jasri here, the home buyer should file a suit in the Supreme Court together to
Yes,
raise
sir.
these
Supreme
legal
Court-
points. And they say that, ki, boss, what no. Sir, look, the developers, now in the case of Amrapali and JP also, when the buyers jointly went there, they got fantastic order in favor of them. But so far, buyers have only gone against the developer. They have not gone against the bankers. that why bankers have not acted, and why not the bankers are also sharing the responsibility of getting the project completed and sharing the responsibility of hardship also. So either they should pay the rent of the house in which the buyer is living because he didn't get his own flat, or some kind of a thing till the project is getting completed. I
Sir,
mean,
sir, going to Supreme Court is very fancy, but it is not easy because you need to, one, it involves a lot of cost and other repercussions.
group of buyers I'm talking about.
And getting all home buyers together and having identical situations is something which is very difficult. Supreme Court can give directions, but Supreme Court cannot give you monetary relief in each specific case on a joint application. That's a very difficult part.
So you
Right.
are suggesting the consumer courts.
So I am saying there are various other means to do it.
What are they?
So now if you have a clear case of collusion, home buyers have been chasing builders in EOW, etc. Why bank should not be a part of it? If there is a collusion, if there is a wrongdoing, there is financial angling involved. That is one.
Yeah.
Why is it that the home buyers cannot collectively make, and you have to really make out a good case, because one of the challenges here is that when you go against a builder, there is a perception that builders are bad. So you are most likely going to get a judgment, and then there is very clear lines dividing that this was the date of possession, not delivered. So you know there is a delay. There is not much to be proved. In case of a bank, the perception is not like that of builders. So you have to first come over the perception of the court, and then it is not as such fine lines as in case of projects builders, that you need to really prove your point. So you need to really go well prepared, and that is so. Going unprepared will actually cause more problems.
No, but
Because if you don't get a relief, banks will get aggressive against you.
no. But sir, in the case of Amrapali and JP, Supreme Court has clearly noted that banks are at fault. So from the auction of this property, banks' money will not be released first.
But you didn't go to you didn't go to the Supreme Court against the bank. What he's saying is the perception was they went against the developer. And
Exactly.
as
It's
far
still banks
Sir,
not like this.
I am saying
Banks not like that.
Sir, I am saying Supreme Court has given a very clear understanding that there was something fishy between the bank and the developer in that particular project,
Exactly.
and they have pointed that out. The lawyer could make out that point and do that. Now I am saying why a similar situation cannot be there in a consumer court or wherever, where you can make out a case where you prove that
Sir,
I made out a soft view from a loan agreement where the bank is saying we may have additional benefits coming from.
सर कंज्यूमर कोर्ट के जजमेंट का वैल्यू क्या, ये बता दो.
अच्छा,
एक मिनट में हायर कोर्ट में चैलेंज कर देगा.
pick up the question. 1 minute. There is a question on this count. There is a question saying, how are the recovery certificates executed? You can go to the consumer court, you can go to RERA, you get your orders, but how do you get those recovery certificates?
But the relief that you are seeking is not a recovery certificate when it comes to banks. You are seeking a relief of not being pursued to pay. All right. The recovery should be done from the developer. So it is for the bank to execute the recovery certificate against the builder, not the home buyer.
Yeah.
If you get that relief. So, you are not recovering from the bank. Please understand. You are asking the bank to recover from the builder.
Right.
So
So
that's
you are asking for relief.
Yeah, I am asking for a relief.
Yeah.
That either I should get a home, the bank must not, pester me with recovery till possession is handed over, or the bank goes and recovers the money from the builder.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pick up some. Prabhakar, a lot of questions have come. I want to pick up questions here. Properties are kept as mortgage with the banks, and consumer is mandated to pay EMIs, while builder is allowed delayed delivery. Now, how can this? How do you address this?
Builders are not allowed. In fact, consumers have allowed them this delay by not acting timely. So that's a misconception that builders are allowed. Builders are using the opportunity given to them of being in a comfortable position to delay the project. So one is the home buyers themselves. In fact, surprisingly, even today, if you ask me, there is a large percentage of home buyers who are still waiting for something to happen and not even initiated action.
Right.
So there is a lot more to come.
There's another query that I have. Can banks become a party in legal cases against builders? Can the banks work with the consumers in legal cases against builders?
So banks can if they want to, but otherwise you can also engage banks in the same petition by making them a conforming party. Because you are making a claim and bank is a conforming party to the whole transaction. And therefore you can actually highlight the wrongdoings of both the bank and the builder and their collusion, if any.
Right.
And ask for appropriate relief. But again, I'm repeating, you have to be careful. It is not a simple petition like a delay in case of builders. You have to really do your homework well. You need something.
The agreement on the basis of which the buyer is approaching the court, that is a tripartite agreement. Bank is the party in that agreement.
Yeah.
So if anybody is going to the court, including banks also into it, it's very easy. They should do it.
Yeah.
They can bring in the banks on they can bring in the regulations, non-compliance to regulations, etc. See, in builders, in any litigation for that matter, even when you're going against the builder, what are you talking about? You are talking about challenging their agreement. You are talking about that force majeure does not hold good, this does not hold good, this is one-sided, this is coercion, this is that, right? That's what you're doing. Now, same way, you have to challenge whatever you have with the bank in light of the regulations and the legal framework that you have. There are regulations of how to work.
And that agreement also. That agreement is the basis of that.
Yeah, so loan agreement, tripartite agreement, sanction letter, builder-buyer agreement, correspondences, everything. But one caution.
Yeah.
If before you go against the banks, you must do a lot of correspondence with the banks to understand their side of the story. Right, because it's always fair to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go, if you're planning to take your lender on, you must have all the facts of the case in writing, write to the lender, get it back from them, write to the NHB, write to the RBI, make sure that you have actually covered all your flanks before you actually take that step of going against a lender. There have been defaults on the part of lenders as well. They have not done due diligence in many cases. They are asking you to pay where the developer should be asked to pay. But before that, establish that actually it should have been the developer and not you who should be penalized. Right, Mani?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the existing loans? Don't have regulatory authority where consumers can take their grievances. Now, this is the problem, right?
Ombudsman you're talking about.
Yeah.
Very difficult stuff to handle. Yeah. Not many people. So if you go by the statistics available online, how many complaints have actually been resolved by the ombudsman? Right. So you will find a lot of litigations against banks in other courts. If ombudsman was effective, I think that is one fantastic thing that the regulators can do. Yeah. Now, the problem is, again, here, as I said, so if I go to a nodal officer in NHB, he's again from some bank. They have a certain mindset. They have worked in a system. So on large occasions, you will find they are kind of convinced jo kar rahe hain bank theek hi kar rahe hain. So even trusting them, because they have been in the system, they have been observing it, they have been witness to it. So they know ki yaar ye to ho raha hai, to aisa hi hota hai. In fact, you will be surprised. When RBI wanted to tighten norms and when this dereliction of duty thing came in the newspapers, MD of a housing finance company came out in a newspaper. I'm sure you would be knowing the name of that person, very renowned person. He said, "Oh, it will be very difficult to do business with such kind of restrictions." I don't know. I mean, so that doesn't, regulator has to work in the interest of the whole industry and the consumer. Otherwise, there is no point of, if consumers are not to be protected, why do you really need a regulator?
Absolutely. And actually, consumers remember that right now the system is very, very weak as far as the consumer is concerned. But if you can take the reins in your hand, you can actually establish that you are the aggrieved, and that there have been many things. But for that, it has all got to be documented. Manish has been saying this again and again. Don't take on anything that you can't prove. If you have to prove it, you have to have it in writing. And if you have it in writing, you can actually go against anybody, no matter how strong and
I need to one more point here. one more point I need to add. It is not, when it is about banking, it is not just about delays.
Yeah.
Believe me, there are so many cases where you must have come across where the buyers say कि project के बीच में एक revenue रास्ता आ गया है. There is others' land which was not disclosed to us.
Yeah.
A very basic question where the banks have done the due diligence, did they really not check the layout being given to the home buyer and the layout approved by the approved by the DTCP? Why did they not stop then and there? So it is not just about delays. Even where there are litigations in the projects, banks are largely responsible for overlooking such facts.
Now, there's another query. If in disbursement-linked loans, if the project is delayed but the buyers continue to pay, does it lead to an increased interest in toto for buyers? If the buyer continues to pay and there's nothing on the ground, he hasn't got the house, does that mean that he's actually paying way more than what he should have paid? Not really, is it?
So if the EMI has started,
Yeah.
if the EMI started, then it is a fixed tenure of 20 years.
Yes.
But technically, the banks should not and cannot, as per their agreement, start the EMI till full disbursement of the loan.
Yeah.
Right? If it is pre-EMI,
Yeah.
then it will all depend whether they can seek tax rebates on that pre-EMI paid. Then it makes sense. Otherwise, it is in addition. So what happens is the term of the loan gets extended. So 20 years will kick in from the date of possession of full disbursement. So in that sense, it is an extra cost. But there is a workaround that if they feel that they have paid for a couple of years and the project is now happening, they can actually get their term rescheduled to maybe 18 years or 17 years and make up for that. I mean, that is a very fine line whether one should really go in for litigation for that or not. But if the project is not taken off and the loan has been disbursed, I am afraid, but there will be nothing but litigation.
Right.
And besides, he is losing on this rental part also.
Yeah. He's losing out on
Rental part also.
Yeah. Why is it mandatory to pay booking amount from our own pockets? Why can't the bank pay for booking a flat?
No,
It's
no.
like it's a commercial transaction. So it's like in any other business, we normally use the term skin in the game.
No, that's basically part of the equity also. When you are taking a loan, then you must put some money from your pocket also.
That is one.
And the bank will give you the rest of the
That
money.
is one. Plus, the funding can only be up to 80% or 75% or whatever.
Right.
So banks want to be sure that the home buyer has money to pay up. Otherwise, he will not pay up, and there are bound to be litigation. So that's a fair point. I don't think there is much.
Yeah, exactly.
So home buyers must pay.
Last two questions. I think it's right. If a consumer goes to Supreme Court against banks, I think then only consumers can get relief from bank issues. This is what one of the consumers has said.
I would say Supreme Court is a choice.
Yeah.
If somebody can do that, must go. What kind of a relief they expect from the Supreme Court and what is that they're asking for, all that will have to be looked at.
Yeah.
But I can tell you there is a lot of relief which has come to those home buyers. Not many have gone to the courts, but a lot of relief that has come to those home buyers where they have actually moved against the bank with the right grounds and facts. In even consumer courts or even DRT, I gave you a few examples. So you don't really have to go that far because going to Supreme Court means it's not possible for everybody.
Is there any judgment where they have waived the EMI?
There are judgments where very clearly said that the bank will not raise any demand to the home buyer till the project is delivered. Number one. And number two, they have very clearly said that the bank must do all recoveries if required with the builder.
Really?
And the judgment also says that the builder and the bank can mutually settle without having any bearing on the home buyer.
Exactly. Is it a DRT or some other?
And there are a couple of judgments which have gone as far as saying that the banks must take immediate steps to reinstate and restore their CIBIL ratings. Because that actually, if you see, the CIBIL thing is very, very damaging. It actually harms my credibility.
Yeah.
Who has given this judgment, sir?
Consumer courts are given. They have been upheld by the higher courts.
Higher court has upheld that.
Yes.
Oh, great, sir. It's a great news. I mean, if
There are judgments in and these are, and I'll tell you what is happening is people who have got larger pockets probably they are waiting, but these are cases where properties worth over 30-40 lakhs they've gone to state forums and all that and got this relief because for just imagine somebody who is struggling to buy a home of 25 lakhs with a loan, what would be his financial situation? He would be pressed against the wall. He will try everything and anything. But somebody who's bought a 10 crore property, he will say, fine, I'll deal with it. I've got another 20 crores, 30 crores with me.
yeah, one thing, sir, here I want to ask you again. Now, suppose a buyer is not paying EMI for say for the duration for which the flat has not been delivered, a flat has been delayed. Now, the issue is this that interest during this period get accumulated finally, and finally it is ballooned up finally, and he has to pay it. So that is a different kind of a arrangement, but it is not a penalty of the banks, basically.
No, but what? See, now there are two things which are there. One is it depends on the. That's why I'm saying you need to be very thorough with when moving against the bank. What relief you want?
Yeah.
That's very clear. So if you say I don't want to pay the EMI,
Yeah, for the period for which the project has been delayed.
can't do that.
No, but the
Court will not go beyond the brief given by you. Please understand. The court will not say, I want to give you this, though you have not asked for it. That is what.
Everybody has not asked this.
No, so people have not asked for it because, see, people, for them, immediate thing is कि मेरे को घर मिल जाए और installment ना देना पड़े. These are two remedies they have, right? So that is one remedy. The other remedy is, I will not pay. Let the bank go and recover from the builder.
हाँ,
There are two remedies.
या तो दूसरा है.
Now the third thing is, so if a home, now see, you also have to have a ground to ask for a remedy. So if you say, I will not pay interest for these 3 years or 5 years of completion, then you need to ask with grounds and reasoning a specific remedy that liability lies on whom? The home buyer or the builder, or should the bank take the hit?
Banks are builder of the bank.
That is where the court can adjudicate, but then you have to ask for it.
Right.
So is there any judgment on that?
The other relief can be that, say, the court has you got a relief saying that you pay the EMI after the possession. Now, hypothetically, you did not get the relief of waiver of interest somehow. The least that you can do is you can ask for a restructuring of the loan where this interest part also becomes a part of the principal and no penalty is levied on that. So all you will do is instead of 25,000, you will pay 28,000 rupees a month and be done with it. So there are ways and means to come about it. That's why I'm saying that banks, home buyers and builders can sit together, at least the banks and home buyers, and find a way out, because I'm sure it is public money, so you can't press the banks beyond a point.
Yeah.
Right. The courts would also think about that what repercussions this will have on the economy, if at all it is there. Now, about the economy part, let me also warn the bank on one thing, that assume that there are 1 lakh people who start defaulting in India on home loans.
Yeah.
Those 1 lakh customers, though having income, will not be in a position to buy or take finance ever.
Right.
Are the banks losing out on that business opportunity? Will they give them the loan because there was a litigation and there was a bank's problem doing that? So we can, with a resolution, collective resolution, we can actually address a lot of problems.
No, yeah, I just want to raise one point here.
I want to actually complete one more query, and then we'll have our final discussion.
Yeah.
The buyer who asked, he's come back saying, my project was delayed for 10 years and my EMIs are still going on. I got the possession after 10 years. That means my loan was extended for 10 years. For a flat costing 50 lakh, I would have paid so much extra.
No. Loan
No,
has
so if his EMI was going on right at that time, and if the loan was largely disbursed, then it is 20 years from whichever date the EMI starts.
Yeah,
so that does not hit him. But if there was pre-EMI going on,
yes,
and now he has got it, so either bank would have reduced his term of the loan, or if it is 20 years, now here is the question. So for 10 years, he could have moved against the bank.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point we are trying to say. No. So he could have got a relief. I'm not saying moving against the bank means not paying. I'm saying relief. It is about where does the legal liability lie? I have a liability of a loan, but am I legally liable or not is the question, or whether the builder is legally liable, or whether the bank is responsible for their misdeeds is the question.
No, I just want to say one thing here, sir, that these developers are the culprit, but bankers are derelicting from their duty.
Yeah.
And because of that, the entire real estate sector is today standstill. Now, whether those customers who are going to default will take the loan or not, that is an issue. But right now, the major issue the country is facing is that how this real estate sector can be brought back to the rail. And for that, if the banks are made responsible, at least for the due diligence what they are doing, they should know of it, that what they are doing it. I believe to that extent, government should intervene, and the Supreme Court must intervene and ask them to do that. And if they are not doing that, then
So
for
I
the next period,
am
EMI should
working,
not be charged.
I am working on a representation to be sent to the respective authorities, including the Chief Justice of India, to look into this matter suo moto and look at it how relief can be given without waiting for people to get into litigation, right? Because 5, 10 people, 20 people may go and get relief, but it's a larger thing to be done. Coming to the dereliction of duty, it was always there. It is just that it has now been defined. But the larger fact is that banks and housing finance companies, in a race to actually get a larger market share and grow their balance sheets, forgot everything. The real question is, did the banks even do due diligence? The answer is no.
No. In many cases, no.
In many cases, they haven't done it.
Yeah. And,
So this is where the problem lies.
No, Jasri, here most of the cases, Jasri, you must be aware of it, that almost 95% money is given by the banks to start the project and complete a project.
Yeah.
The developers have hardly 5% money. Still, these bankers are saying
there is one more thing, which is a very common sense. As a common sense, if I have to give some favor to somebody, right, and I have to do something out of turn, I need to evaluate that person whether I should be doing that or not, right? Even if it is about giving some extra pocket money to your son. Here, the banks have given an advanced disbursement facility, subvention facility to every builder in the country. Exactly. Without looking at the viability, without looking at the credibility, without looking at the stakes in the industry. So somebody who comes up with one project, has got no future project in the line, has not delivered anything, also gets a subvention.
Because
also
in India, bankers go scot-free. That is the biggest problem.
So in one judgment, there is a recording, and in fact, I'll tell you, I've got some documents as a RTI from some banks. They have laid down a process as to how a project is to be approved and how these facilities are to be granted, but they have themselves not followed those norms.
Okay.
And the last thing here, there is a provision for fraud reporting by RBI that all banks and housing finance companies must promptly report the frauds. I am pained to see that all frauds are on part of the home buyers. There is no fraud on part of the employees of the banks or their agencies, which are valuers and lawyers, or the builders. So if there is an overvaluation, the buyer has done it in collusion with the builder. How can it be possible?
Buyers don't get involved even.
Fraud reporting is a very integral part of any regulated business.
Yes.
Buyers don't do that. It's the banks are doing it.
So there is, in fraud reporting, they say you must check for fraud or possible fraud if a home buyer is changing his addresses too frequently. To that extent, they have defined. But they have not even in last 6 years looked at if there is a fraud that has happened on the builder side. They have not reported one. Have they blacklisted? In fact, I made a suggestion to National Housing Bank and I said, you must have a system of blacklisting developers. Why not? Then you can have a CIBIL. You can blacklist Manish Patni if he has a bad CIBIL score. How do you deal with builders?
And that's where I'm going to call it a close, because we have at least 15 minutes over what we were expected to go through.
Yeah.
think it has been an amazing session, Manish. Not because actually our intent is not to go after the banks or go against the banks. It is that there is a huge fraud in the market, and if this is an industry which contributes 8 to 9% of our GDP. Today, the same bankers who did not lend to the who lent to the developers on behalf of consumers without doing any due diligence, the same bankers have stepped back and said, no, it's too risky a sector to lend to. There is liquidity in the system is not able to lend to the developers. Somewhere there has to be an exit. And that exit is what we're chasing in all these various shows that we've done. What we're trying to do is we're taking this, we're looking at it through the lens of a consumer. We're looking at it through the lens of a developer, and we're also looking at it through the lens of regulators. We feel that in many cases, regulators like the UPRERA have done a tremendous job in trying to get the market kick-started. But there are many other markets where consumers are still paying EMIs without any hope of getting that house in the foreseeable future. That is where we feel that this kind of conversation is important. Now, there is a gentleman called Vinod Kumar who started writing right now, saying that there is a certain judge who's going to retire, and will this slow down the system? I don't think a system of justice is tied to any one developer, one judge, like it is tied to any one developer or any one banker. The system of justice is how much can the consumer push, how much can the consumer protest, and how well can the consumer make his case. And that's why we brought Manish Patni, because he was a consumer, he was a banker, and he's today a lawyer, and an irrefutable combination of skills. And he's using it not to bring banks down, but to help resolution of cases. Thank you so much for joining us, Manish Patni. I'm Jayashree Kurup, and that's Prabhakar Seni.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.